Get up. It's a Moody morning. 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 Better get up on it. Hey, it's a Moody morning. Don't let your mornings be moody. Let them be moody.
Well, hello, boys and girls. It's me, Dr. Moody, and welcome back to our podcast, Moody Mornings, where we have exactly what you need for your Moody Mornings. Well, we're back today with episode number 15, and on today's episode, we'll be looking at the life of King Solomon and how he used wisdom in making wise decisions. As always, before we start, let's welcome my co-host, Pastor Co-host Steve. How are you doing today?
Good Moody morning, Dr. Moody. I'm doing well today. How are you?
I guess you could say I'm doing well also.
Well, that's good, I guess. There seems to be something wrong, Dr. Moody. What's the problem?
Well, last night I had a pizza party with all my friends. Sorry, I forgot to invite you. But everyone was there. Lucy and Timmy and Mr. Einstein and Mr. Wallace, even the Monster Brothers, and Earl. Earl was there. But can you believe it? Earl ate the last piece of pizza.
Well, I think that's okay. Dr. Moody, how many slices of pizza did you have?
Well, I think I had 3, maybe 4. Could have been 5.
5? How many slices of pizza did everyone else get?
I don't know, maybe 2, but that's not fair. I didn't get the last piece of pizza in my own pizza party.
Dr. Moody, do you really think that's right? You having 4 or 5 slices of pizza and your guest only getting 2? It's not about being fair, Dr. Moody. It's about doing what's right. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing doing what's right. It's called being just.
Just what?
Oh, Dr. Moody, for being a doctor, you really have a hard time with basic English.
Well, I'm a doctor of science, not English, Pastor Steve.
Anyhow, Dr. Moody, we are talking about being just, taking personal responsibility to uphold what is pure, right, and true. Our story today is about King Solomon. But before we get to the difficult decision he had to make, let's talk about how he was equipped to make that just decision. Dr. Moody, do you remember how Solomon was equipped?
Well, the Bible says in James 1:5, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and it will be given to him. And Solomon did this very thing at the beginning of his reign.
That's correct, Dr. Moody. Solomon had obeyed God and all of his commandments just like his father David had done. And early on in Solomon's reign, God appeared to him in a dream and told Solomon to ask for whatever he wanted to receive from the Lord. He could have asked for anything, Dr. Moody, but he only asked for one thing.
Well, instead of asking for a mighty kingdom or power or even lots of money, Solomon asked for wisdom so that he could take care of God's people. That's a very noble thing to ask for, and this certainly pleased God. God gave Solomon a wise and understanding heart and told him that there would be no one else like him before or after him.
Yes, and because Solomon asked for wisdom to take care of God's people, God blessed him with everything else. He blessed him with a mighty kingdom, power, wealth, and much more.
Well, it sounds like Solomon applied that verse in Matthew 6:33, that he sought the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these other things were added unto him.
Yes, Dr. Moody, it certainly does. And God blessed Solomon, and even though Solomon was the wisest man to ever live, God still gives wisdom to those who ask, just like you mentioned there in James chapter 1. You know, Dr. Moody, as parents, we need wisdom too.
Oh, I can only imagine, Pastor Steve. There has to be times as a parent where you have to use wisdom in making decisions, and that certainly can't be easy. I know that you want to bless your kids, and you love them, you like seeing them happy and smiling all the time, but it can't always be like that. Mm-hmm. You sometimes have to make decisions they might not like.
Yes, Dr. Moody, that's correct. You know, it's not always easy, and there are times where we do need to make tough decisions. You know, one of the most important things, though, Dr. Moody, is making sure that the decisions that we make are the right decisions. You know, Dr. Moody, God has even given you wisdom.
he has. Oh, of course he has. Wow. Well, God is so good in the gifts that he gives to each and every one of us.
I agree, Dr. Moody. God is so good. Why don't we sing that song, Dr. Moody? God is so good. Do you know that one? God is so good?
He's so good to me.
It sounds like you do, Dr. Moody.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's a really, really cute song, isn't it?
It is simple.
Yeah. Well, boys and girls, why don't you join us in singing that very, very special song, God is so good. He's so good to me.
God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me.
Wow, God is certainly so good. You had mentioned earlier that God had given Solomon wisdom. Is there a particular story in Solomon's life where he had to use that wisdom and make a just decision, Pastor Steve?
Yes, Dr. Moody, for sure. You see, the wisdom that God gave to him, he was able to use very early on in his reign. As a matter of fact, in 1 Kings chapter 3, there's a story of two women who came and stood before King Solomon because of a dispute that they had. You see, they both were living in the same house, and they both had baby boys around the same time.
Ah, I remember hearing this story. This would have been so much easier for everyone if one of the babies were a girl. Sadly, one of the baby boys passed away during the night, and this caused an argument between the mothers.
Yes, Dr. Moody. Unfortunately, one of the babies did die. But the Bible tells us that the mother of the child who died, she tried to deceive the other mother by switching the babies in the middle of the night. You know, a mommy really knows her child, and the mother of the living baby knew that the baby who passed away wasn't hers, but the other mom, the mom of the baby who died, insisted that the living baby was hers. So they came before King Solomon and asked him to be the judge and decide whose baby the living baby belonged to. This is where the wisdom that God gave to Solomon came into play, and he made a rather interesting decision. Do you know what that decision was, Dr. Moody?
Let's see. Well, if I was in that situation, I would have them take a DNA test.
No, Dr. Moody. There were no DNA tests. I don't even think that was an option during those times.
Oh, right, of course. Well, did he hold up the baby to the moms to see which one he looked like more?
No, Dr. Moody. He actually suggested that the baby who was living be cut in half.
He said what? That doesn't sound wise at all. That sounds cruel, actually.
Well, Dr. Moody, that was all part of the wisdom that God had given to Solomon. You see, the mother of the child who died agreed with the decision that King Solomon made because she had nothing left to lose. The other mother, she was opposed to it, and she loved her child so much that she was willing to give up her baby so that he could live. This decision by the mother revealed to King Solomon who the true mother was. He knew that a mother would never want to see her own child be hurt in any way.
Oh, wow. What wisdom. I don't think I would ever have thought of that.
Well, Dr. Moody, God's ways are much bigger than ours. We don't always understand why he does what he does, but he's such an infinite God, and his ways are much bigger than our understanding. We can only see so far, but God sees the whole picture.
It's kind of like a parade, Pastor Steve. We can only see the float that's in front of us, but God sees the entire parade from start to finish. And that's why the decisions he makes are always the right decision. How can the kids apply this to their lives?
Well, Dr. Moody, let's just imagine that there's a family at the county fair, and all of the kids are wanting to get on the rides.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm imagining the West family at the fair, and I see how excited your kids are to get on the rides.
Here we go again. Dr. Moody, let's try not to burn anything down with our imagination this time.
Well, that's up to you and your parenting. Don't let your kids burn anything down this time.
You're impossible, Dr. Moody. Let's get back on subject. Well, here we are. All of my kids at the fair, they're all tall enough to get on the roller coaster with the exception of one. But my child really wants to get on, and they're begging me and begging me and begging me to let them get on this ride. Well, the ride attendant's there, and they're willing to let them get on because they're just a little short from the height limit, and they don't see how that could hurt anything. You see, the ride attendant was focused on making my child happy, and my kid was focused on getting what they want, but they are not looking at the big picture. With the wisdom that God has given to us as parents, we know that there is a possibility of something bad happening and them getting hurt. And even though, Dr. Moody, I want my kid to be happy, I need to exercise wisdom just as Solomon did. And
Wait. You didn't do exactly what Solomon did you?
Dr. Moody, no, you and your imagination again. Wow. Like Solomon, Dr. Moody, I would do what was right. And even though my kid would not be happy, they would be safe. As parents, God has given us all wisdom, which helps us in making the right decision for our kids. You know, it may not always be the most popular decision, but it's always the decision that is right. And that is where the wisdom from God comes into play in making just decisions.
Well, boys and girls, has there ever been a situation in your life where you've had to make a difficult decision and had to exercise wisdom? Or do you have a question about the Bible or a question for me, Dr. Moody? We would love to hear from you. Have your parents message us on Instagram, and who knows, maybe we just might answer your question here on Moody Mornings. Well, next time on Moody Mornings, we'll look at the life of the prophet Jeremiah and how he persevered. Be sure to tune in. Don't forget to check us out online. Have your parents search for us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just have them search for CCGS Kids. And don't forget to follow our podcast, Moody Mornings, so you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd also love to see you in person. Find out more about Calvary Chapel Golden Springs by visiting our website, www.calvarygs.org. Remember, no matter what time of the day, you can always have a Moody morning. See you next time.